Hello and welcome to a very special live stream from LFC Transfer Room. Breaking news: Moises Caicedo is a red. Medical schedule for tomorrow, at least over here in the States, for today, Friday. Confirmed by Fabrizio and David Ornstein. Wow. I'm joined on a special stream by Dan, Brandon, as well as Drew. Gentlemen, how are we feeling this evening? Dan.
All feeling great. I don't feel bad for hyping everyone up earlier today by just giving the live feed of like, hey, it looks like this is going to happen, and now it just feels so much vindication.
Uh, Amazing, right? Drew, how are you feeling? How are you feeling tonight?
Feeling very happy. Glad we got something over the line at this point. I just spoke earlier in the week, so I don't want to sound like a hypocrite where I was like, Caicedo is probably worth 60 million max to me, but it's not my money. And when you see Declan Rice going for 100, Enzo to Chelsea for 100, that just seems to be the market we're in. And I'm just ecstatic we bought a player that can come in and we know can do the business. I was a little worried about Lavia at 19, but Caicedo, we know he can do the job. I love the stats that you have up in your background. That just shows you the player we're getting. I'm sure we'll talk all about that, but all happy, all smiles over here.
Yes. Brandon, how we doing, bro?
I am absolutely ecstatic right now. Like I told you guys before we went live, I'd already recorded a whole podcast episode about our lack of signing people and taking forever to sign somebody we should have got 2 weeks ago. And then I have to completely scrap that and completely change my tone and be the happiest guy on earth now as I go into this episode. So I'm excited to get that done. I've never been happier to work hard. So,
Hey, for a good reason, right? It's better than it going the other way. Let's say a few years ago you were recording a Nabil Fekir episode and then had to backtrack that one. So definitely much better this way around.
Very much.
Wow, just amazing. Again, today news broke out, or more towards yesterday, last night, that Liverpool were throwing their hat in their ring onto Moises Caicedo, and it took us by surprise after calls of FSG out and complaints about Jorg and the job he was doing, and perhaps too much power in Klopp's hands. And my face is kind of breaking here with this background. Now, today's news that Moises Caicedo is on his way to becoming a red, and the terms as far as the transfer fee has been agreed to by Brighton. Just have to basically get the medical done and sign a contract. Just absolutely amazing. Are we ready for a title charge now? Does this kind of put us into that category, I guess top three between Arsenal, Man City, and now ourselves? Are we primed for a title charge now?
I thought we were ready to be a title charge before then. It would just been like a very nervous title charge back in 2012-13 or even back to 17-18 where we run and get a big lead and everything else. I think what it does above everything else is that it does one thing that's really funny. It's pretty much you pretty much tell Chelsea to get off, and you flex your strength. It automatically just makes the whole team just so much better because you have someone that is immediately ready to play, has an incredibly high ceiling, knows how to play the system, and you're talking about right now potentially probably the best midfield in the league, if not the best one in the world right now.
What about you, Drew? Are we primed for a title charge now?
I think so. I think I'm still on the cautious / defense side where we need to maybe get that one center back in for coverage, because I think anything like any injury crisis could strike, and after having two of those in the last 4 years, I'll definitely will be a little not full on the gas, but we have all the right people in our squad right now to make that challenge. We arguably have the best 11 if everyone's fully fit and firing. Caicedo will need to be brought up to speed, but it's already Premier League proven, so there's less of an issue on that front. And everyone else, it just looks great. It looks great. I think we're the only team that really can take on Man City. Arsenal saw what it took last year, and they faltered well before the final finishing stretch. So for me, I think Liverpool can be invigorated and really, really, really push City all the way this season. And if City drop off slightly, then Klopp and the players are right there to take the pounce and grab the title.
What about you, Brandon? Do you think we're primed for a title charge now, or are we still, as we see some comments here on the chat, are we still a defender shy from seriously mounting a charge?
I think we're pretty close. I would not be shocked if we went in the season as is and made a title charge, no problem. But I'd feel way more confident, like almost like, yeah, we win the title if we got a center back as just that coverage or just like kind of the depth there that we may lack a little bit. But I mean, still, I think we are good enough now to win the title. I mean, you got to think maybe Man City has a bit of a drop off, finally winning the Champions League, which they've been after for how many years now. Maybe they had that little bit of a hangover maybe early in the year that maybe we can kind of run away and hide. Arsenal seem kind of still a little bit short up top to really challenge for a title over a whole season. So I think this puts us in a great position. I mean, as I was saying, I was worried that we'd get top four because I was so worried about not having any coverage in front of that front line, or at least our back line, having anybody shielding that, and just us dropping points in a 4-4 or 3-3, or, you know, having to just hopefully score, you know, tell the defense, don't give up 4 goals because we're going to have to score 5. Like, you know, because we have not looked great defensively. But I think this fixes so many problems. We saw how much Casemiro can change Man United last year. Getting somebody like Caicedo is, you know, obviously
transformative.
Yeah, transformative. He can be that transformative for this team and like really make us take a next step that, you know, as we saw Fabinho dip off last year, this guy's on the up. So we're not going to hopefully see that for a
yeah,
long.
I mean, I'm less worried about our defense in many ways because what Caicedo does, especially this whole new midfield rebuild. You know, we've pretty much completely dropped our average age by 10 years in just one summer. Is that what really happened last year? Was that the pressing from the midfield wasn't there? So that's the reason our defense was so easy to get through, because we play this very high risk system, attacking system, possession system that was just getting overrun because people weren't pressing the ball, they weren't getting there. And what Caicedo does is that he comes in, he automatically brings that too. He can also play right back. So if you want to put Trent into midfield for some games, he can drop into right back. I also think the reason they did this, and I agree with what Brandon said, is that I think they looked at Gerald Kwanzaa and they said, we could spend $40 million on the center back, but we can just do this next summer. We can get this one guy for 110, and we can play Kwanzaa, who's going to be our 5th or 6th choice center back, you know, depending if Nat Phillips is still there, and we can build from that going forward. And I think right now what it does do is that you've completely rebuilt your midfield. The only thing you have to do now is sign Andre. If they sign Andre in January, that's your Thiago replacement. That is 8 midfielders. When Thiago leaves, that'll be 7 midfielders. You've pretty much rebuilt the core of a midfield in one summer, which we were all panicking that Liverpool would not be able to do.
So with this, I mean, obviously we are still lacking depth-wise, and especially a left-footed center back on our squad. But now we have an official starter for that position on our squad. Previously, we did have starters for center back with Van Dijk as well as Konate. Andy, even though he's running upfield a little bit more, that can still get controlled, or we can shift back to what we've primarily been playing through these past few years with the 4-3-3 shape. But now we have a nailed-on starter, and it just allows us to be much more diverse in how we attack teams and set up tactically. Was the missing key piece, in my opinion. Now we can shop for plugging in other holes as well as further depth, but this was the key piece. Drew, as far as the price, I know you mentioned that earlier. You didn't think he's worth that amount, but with the Saudi league and with obviously Chelsea paying 100 plus for Enzo, has that landscape changed? And did FSG finally see the light and realize, hey, if we want quality players, we're going to have to pay the price?
Yeah, I think I'll give them credit, like, in terms of learning their lesson last season for not addressing the concerns that everyone knew that the team had. Like, we all knew last season before the transfer window shut that they needed to refresh the midfield, and they didn't do that. I think they came to the end of this one. I think everyone was fearful that they're going to do it again. They've done it before, and after completely missing it last season, they're going to do it again this season, and there would be absolutely zero excuse. That's why you're seeing all the FSG out, like hashtags, all that trending, because they would have been missing something they have already missed again. I think it just unfortunately happens to where we're in this transfer window where you have the Declan Rices, the Enzos, like everyone, even Lavia, he's not worth $50 million, a 19-year-old who played, 17 games for Southampton. Like the inflated prices just happen to be in that position for this transfer window. It's happened before with like center backs, with goalkeepers. When you think of Kepa, Allison, center backs, Van Dijk, Maguire, it kind of happens.
When there's a run on positions, it just completely inflates the market for it.
Yeah. And I think that it just happened to be CDMs this summer. And FSG, to their credit, they dipped into their pockets, which is not something you say often, but it was something that needed to be addressed. And they could not have it just would have been criminal. It would have been FSG out everywhere, protest if they did not address this issue. So you're going to have to pay that kind of price at this point. I don't think he's worth it. I don't think that makes him a £110 million player, but that's what he is in this current market. I think at Liverpool, he's primed to be able to break into the squad and have that comfort levels and be kind of I think it would have been different if he went to Chelsea or an Arsenal. I think you're going to have much more pressure there, where with Liverpool, you have such high quality players around you, and we know this is a completely new midfield, so I don't think he'll have that same kind of pressure that would come elsewhere. So I'm okay with this price tag, the fact that it's needed to bring him in. I don't think he's worth that price, but that's just what the market is. So I'm just glad that we got it in, because it was a position we absolutely needed to address, and we've done it.
Definitely. As far as price, definitely it's what price you're able to get, and all you need really is one team to pay it, and in this case, two teams to think that he's worth that price. Brandon, with that price, obviously a British record deal. 110 million pounds. A lot of expectations to come along with that, but at the same time, we haven't seen the best of Moises Caicedo yet. So we're paying for the current version, but that ceiling still hasn't been touched yet. So your thoughts on how quickly he can assimilate, especially considering he has played with Maka for years now, into our squad, and what floor has it been raised and what ceiling has been raised for this team?
Let's see. I think the floor for the team, I mean, as long as no injury bug, we are easily top 4. Easily top 3 should be in this league, no problem. Especially with the causes, as long as there's no injury issues, obviously. But obviously, the ceiling now is to push on in both European, obviously maybe not Champions League, obviously this year, but maybe next year. Because like I said, this is the buy not to fix the team now, it's to fix the team also 5 years down the road. This is the guy who's going to be what we kind of build around. That's the reason you don't spend 110 million on the co-star. This is the star of the team now. This is the guy we're going to build everything around moving forward. What we play through. This is the Van Dijk signing for this team. This is the guy that's the missing piece we need to move forward in both European and I lost the word.
Europa League?
Domestic?
Domestic.
There we go. It's been a long day for me. Sorry.
I understand that.
And you still have another podcast to record.
Yeah, I still have to record in like an hour, so it's going to be fun.
This is something we've argued about in the chats, and I've said this plenty of times. The biggest difference, I think, between what I know Drew mentioned, Moises Caicedo is not 110 million pounds in this market, and neither is Declan Rice 105 million. But the thing is, I've always argued this about Declan Rice, is that if you're going to buy a player, he has to be transformative. I don't think Declan Rice makes Arsenal transformative, but Moises Caicedo does transform Liverpool's midfield, because you're getting a high ceiling, you're getting certainty. He knows exactly what he's going to do, and you now have a very, very strong idea of this is how we're going to play, this is how we're going to get the best of your players. And again, Moises Caicedo is going to be playing with McAllister, which he's already played with and knows very well. Dominic Szoboszlai, again, one of the best attacking talents in Europe. And again, 22, Maka's 23, 24, Moises 21, 22. You have Darwin
all
Nunez,
under 24, all under
Luis
24.
Diaz,
So
like
six
he's
plus years at least
in
of running together.
my biggest fear with Caicedo going to Chelsea was I think he would go to Chelsea and flop because Chelsea is just such a mess that he may not settle. But he's coming to a situation right now, and I think this is obviously what pushed him over the line, is that he's coming to a very stable situation. Klopp's not going to lose his job. It's Pochettino is very much on a hot seat where he could lose his job in 6 months if Chelsea are 8th, and they already have this issue of sanctions coming down on them, and they have so many injuries as it is. Caicedo would be walking to a tire fire right now at Chelsea, but at Liverpool, he can come in and he doesn't have to start the first 2 games. Like, they can bet him in slow if they want to. They can drop him right in at Chelsea, which would be absolutely hilarious, and I would love it. But he most likely won't start until Bournemouth or Newcastle. I could actually even see him starting it not until the transfer window is over.
Yeah, to be seen. It has taken sometimes players a couple of months to assimilate, but others get thrown right into the starting lineups. Luis Diaz, Cody Gakpo, on a more recent basis. So, and as far as needs wise, again, he's ready made to just drop into that midfield, in my opinion. But still got to get the medical check through and have him raise that red shirt over at the AXA. But wow, I'm just still absolutely amazed and just super happy that we're able to bring this over the line. With Moises, obviously, you take a look at the stats over my left shoulder here. He brings definitely a lot to the table defensively, but what isn't talked about so much is his ability to connect play from backline forward, from turning the ball over, passes into the final third. He is one of the top passers in the Premier League as well, and that's something that has gone unnoticed. With the offensive fire that we currently have now, Dan, how many goals do you foresee us scoring now?
Well, I never thought scoring goals would be an issue. I do think it's very interesting right now because I think we could be even more absolutely crazy and risky because Caicedo just gives you that platform to do it. If I was Liverpool's coach, if I'm an analyst, if I'm Jurgen Klopp, if I'm Pep, if I'm anybody in that staff, I'm saying, how do we get to 85 plus goals? If we get to 85 goals, we can finish top 4 and we could probably win the league. So how do we do that? And I think they had a plan going forward that was very, very risky with the high line, playing a back 3, pushing up, inverting Trent, creating a situation where you are creating overloads in the midfield in wide areas. With Caicedo there, I mean, you could be even more insane. I'm talking about like peak Fabinho eras where we were pretty much defending almost like 2 versus 3, like where you have like 2 center backs and Fabinho's up here. But because we're so good at pressing, they can't get the ball out. And I think right now, I would bet money right now that we're going to score 80 plus goals this year easily. Barring injuries, we will score 80 plus goals.
Well, what about you, Drew? Obviously, it transforms us on the defensive end, but I think offensively, it's just going to make us even more lights out, being able to turn that ball over way further up the pitch.
Yeah, I think that was such a hallmark of the early success of the Klopp side. Was the ability to win the ball in the midfield or higher up the pitch and then completely transition and like 1-2 pass in behind. And I was talking about this yesterday on stream with Dan where I was unsure if Nunez would really thrive without a solid 6 in the team to cover defensively, like somebody you can rely on to be able to like cover the mistakes, to break up the tackles, especially if we lose the ball in that part of the field, someone who can get back and cover well. I think that was why Klopp was sort of favoring the old Firmino false 9, like Cody Gakpo potentially playing back a little bit, so you had a little more room, a little more bodies in the midfield in that area to track back if there was a quick turnover. But with someone like Caicedo on that anchor ability to kind of keep an eye out on the field, his tackles, like the stats you're talking about, interceptions, etc., that can kind of free up Nunez to essentially have a free role in that number 9 position to run in behind and not worry about getting caught out necessarily, because that was something that we suffered from a lot, was those quick turnovers and then those balls played in behind Trent, those quick turnovers, the long balls over the top to catch us out. But someone like Caicedo could definitely help us on that front and potentially give Nunez a lot more freedom going forward, or give Klopp that option to put him in more. Because I was a little worried, to be honest, if Nunez was going to get the same amount of time seeing Cody Gakpo preferred or that false nine or Jota. But I think that we're all talking about it, like we were never worried about scoring goals, the depth of our attack, but how many different ways we can hit other teams now is absolutely insane. And to have that backbone through the midfield now, to have that cover, it's just going to be frightening. When Liverpool are clicking on all fronts, teams are going to be very scared of the Liverpool lineup.
Brandon, wow. With what is our best lineup now? Like considering now that we have Maka as well as Caicedo and now Don, do we still need to bring Trent in as that inverted right back? Can we shift back tactics wise, or as Drew kind of pointed out, with Cody Gakpo having to play that false nine last year just to give us numbers in the midfield, we don't necessarily need that at this point anymore. Does that free up Darwin to just explode this season and play that natural nine?
It does. It gives us like the best thing for any team is to always have options and how they break down. Like the issue with the Suarez years, that there was never a plan B. If Suarez didn't have the magic in him that day, we were kind of screwed. Now we have options of, Darwin starts on the bench. We don't need somebody to kind of be running in behind, doing all these different things, or we can have Gakpo coming in like closer. It's just, I'm being overwhelmed with how many different options Klopp has at his disposal right now. Like in terms of how we can build an attack or just kind of build a game plan for any team. It's like we are set up to play everybody now in terms of how they want to play us defensively. They want to play a low block, no problems. If they want to kind of press us, no problems. We have options against every single type of defense you can imagine now, especially with the depth of the attack. And now we have it running through the entire team again. So, I would love one more signing just in case. But
that center back, I think, is just pretty much that missing piece.
Like the move. I would like. I know Dan said Andre, which might be more of like something in January, which would be great with me. But just to have one more midfield body, because we have seen a couple of these players we do have had some injury issues over the years. So just to make sure. But we're going into an incredibly exciting season now. Like I was getting to that point with Lavia not getting over the line, of like not being excited that the season was starting this weekend. Now I cannot wait. Now I just cannot wait to start watching Liverpool play.
The dopamine rushes back until we get the transfer deadline day, and everyone's mad that we haven't signed Gonzalo Ignacio from Sporting.
Yeah,
we'll always find something to complain about,
absolutely.
And unfortunately, we're kind of used to always being one piece shy as far as a fan base, and proof has been in the pudding. We've definitely been one or two players shy each transfer window. This definitely puts a salve on that, and it's a world-class player that we're bringing in, and we have to obviously respect that. And the fee is huge, but FSG still has something to prove, in my opinion. But that's a topic for another day. Let's just celebrate the good news that we have today, and that's the Moises Caicedo news. But I want to touch on something else here, because a couple of days ago, Virgil did an interview, and he mentioned that with the outgoings that we did have, and to only have 2 incoming players so far this transfer window, people can have their doubts. How much effect, if any, did Virgil speaking out have? And I'll go over to you, Dan, first.
Well, I think he was just speaking on the general anxiety. So I think it was very revealing in many ways, because honestly, it doesn't say much, but by not saying much, it tells us everything. I think the players in there kind of looked around and felt they were a little bit light in many ways. I don't think it really changed anything that people didn't already know. So I'm pretty sure Jörg Schmack already knew this. Jurgen Klopp knew this as well. And I think what they ended up doing, especially right now, this Caicedo situation, is that they just looked around and said, why are we messing around with this? This is ridiculous. Let's go and see if we can get this done as soon as possible in many ways. And I think that what this does do, and this is something that we've mentioned that I think doesn't always get appreciated, is it refreshes the locker room. Now every player in that locker room can look at each other and say, you're good, you're going to have my back. Because last year, and this really what happened last year, people were looking at each other felt they were like, I'm being left out to dry. You're not doing your job. Why aren't you doing your job? Like your levels have dropped off. I know who you're going to say, Rigo, but I know what you're going to say. I know your agenda. I know how your mind works. But that was really what happened last year, and I felt that created just this environment of just self-pitying and doubting and just kind of like misery. But now you're walking into a situation where they can look at each other from now, like I think like the 21 man squad can just say like, all right, we got each other's backs. I know your levels, and I know you're not going to leave me out to dry.
Drew, what do you think? Do you think Virgil speaking out as captain had any effect at all in us pursuing Moises, or is this just opportunity and us striking?
Maybe a small amount. Maybe that's like, Klopp has had little frustrations about not getting in players or not enough action, but it's never been like outright spoken. So I think it's more like that frustration, the anxiety of like, oh, the season's around the corner, and we need to get players in. I think that the fear in like last season or previous seasons when we didn't have backup, like the center back crisis that we had, and we had the last minute signings of Kabak and Ben Davies on loan and those kind of deals. I think it got to that point where it's kind of like, first game of the season's on Sunday, and we signed our last midfielder like over a month ago. What's been going on? I think Liverpool, it looks like FSG had a plan now. It's, it's not like we bought someone else we didn't know about for like 30 million. They just dropped a bomb at 110 mil for Caicedo. So that shows that they were, they had their hands on some triggers. And I think it came down to like, maybe it was a bit of just frustration with Southampton, like just nickel and diamond over Lavia, who's not worth 50 million. And they're like, and then Chelsea making that cheeky bid for 48 on top of that. It seemed like maybe John Henry didn't like being made a fool of, but it was just like, all right, I'm just going to throw all in on Caicedo.
Here's a fun baseball fact. People don't know this. So in 2018, when the Red Sox won the World Series, they had this player called Mookie Betts, he was their best player. They were going to sign him to a long contract. He gets signed by the LA Dodgers, who are owned by Todd Bowley, who also owns Chelsea. And so this is a situation, and people in Boston are still mad about this to this day. And so this is kind of like a bit of revenge, where this is a player that Chelsea have been linked to. They've been dilly-dallying over this deal for the past three weeks, and they go and sign him up. It's actually a classic revenge story, except it's in football and not in baseball.
Brandon, has this been a long con the entire time with the pound by pound upping of the offer for Lavia just until we got to that final figure for Caicedo? Or is that giving too much credit?
I think it might be giving a little bit too much credit. I don't know if anybody quite operates that type of espionage in the football market, but maybe they do. I mean, it is. But I think we've all been kind of saying is like, I know Dame has been saying it like nonstop is, why aren't we in for Caicedo? Like, why are we not in for this guy? Like, he's out there, he's available, he's the best one on the market. Why are we not looking at this guy? And now all of a sudden here's 110. I know there was I think somebody put out the conspiracy theory that we were just waiting for Tchouaméni, and then Mbappe doesn't want to go. And now that opens up Caicedo because Tchouaméni is no longer available. I don't know if they want to think that way, because I would hate for us to like be waiting on a player when there's another player like who's ready to explode, like Caicedo is at a club as big as Liverpool. Like, we're going to wait around until somebody else grabs him. So I don't know. I don't know if I can give FSG that much credit that they've been playing this long con on everybody.
Yeah, I agree with Brandon. I don't think it's been a long con at all. I think they were waiting to see what happened with the Mbappe situation. I think what happened with Caicedo is that, one, Southampton started dragging their feet and leaking all the information. Two, they probably were convinced that we probably can't get Caicedo because Chelsea have done so much work. We're not going to get them. And then after this, once they got the Fabinho Hendo deal done, they were just looking around and probably saying, let's ring them real quick and see if they want to do a deal. They rang them. They got Klopp on the phone at 9 o'clock. They had a meeting, and they said, listen, we're just going to do this now. And obviously, and this is very important, and this cannot be understated in the transfer world, Liverpool have amazing relations with Brighton. Those relationships mean everything. That's how we can move deals so fast. We have a good relationship with Leipzig. That's how we got Szoboszlai so fast. That is one of the most important things you can do in this transfer world, is that you have good relations with a team, because that way you don't end up in a situation where the deal is getting leaked for 4 or 5 to 3 weeks straight, and you're made to look like an idiot. Like, no one wants to look like an idiot. And I think that Southampton have done that, and Liverpool just like, you know what, the heck with this. We're going to see if we can do this deal much faster. Like, it's absolutely insane. This deal was pretty much done not even in 24 hours, like in like 18 hours. It's absolutely insane how fast they did.
And that's more of the modus operandi that we're kind of used to. Things going under the radar or things escalating quickly, and then suddenly the next day you see our shirt in the players' hands. Just a wild 24 hours. Again, last night, FSG out trending all over Twitter. Just fans just super upset at not being able to get Romeo Lavia. To 24 hours later, we're signing Moises Caicedo. What a dramatic turn of events for the better. And on the Chelsea side, I mean, how upset can you get? You've signed pretty much every player under the sun since Todd Bowley has come in, and even before that, obviously Roman Abramovich was spending like crazy. You can't buy every single player. Let another team get acquire some talent out here. You're already building up Strasbourg as pretty much the number 2 team in Ligue 1 almost at this point. So just amazing. All right, let's take once again, I just want to remind everyone to like and subscribe. I don't think I've mentioned that once so far on our stream. Definitely helps us out in the channel. A lot of familiar faces there in the comment. It's a great community here on the LFC Transfer Room. Please like and subscribe and be a part of us becoming the #1 fan-driven content for Liverpool fans. So hopefully we're on their way there. Wow. All right, so Moises Caicedo in. Now, after he signs, obviously, we have to look ahead at who's next. Are we still in for Romeo Lavia? There's reports out there that Liverpool are still interested and the players is still on our radar. Do we go in with a lower offer now? Drew?
Not too sure on that one. I think I'd prioritize a center back at this point, especially was it Andre from the Brazilian league? If we're looking for him in winter, that might cover us there, because I still like to see Bajcetic, coming up, get some time, and I think if you bring Lavia, I know Bajcetic isn't naturally a number 6, but I'd still like to see him get some minutes, and maybe that's a position that he could come into, especially in stuff like the League Cup, FA Cup, and Europa League, providing that we make easy work at the group stages early enough. But, I'd still say center back is something we need to address, and I think it's something we've talked about on the streams before, where someone like Ignacio has that release clause that we can just activate anytime we want. So maybe that's something that we're looking to just do quick business and then wrap that up for the transfer window. Dan?
Caicedo's in Liverpool now. It just got reported. He's now in Liverpool, and he's probably starting his medical today. So we're probably going to start it pretty soon, probably either in the morning or very soon. He is in Liverpool right now and is reported.
Wow.
Sorry, Drew. I didn't mean to interrupt you there. I'm reading the live news update as we're going. Breaking news here.
Absolutely amazing. Yep, Davo Cop. Caicedo will arrive in Liverpool today. His medical could also begin today. And Dave's been on the money with this one. He's been pretty good all summer with transfer news. So credit to him. All right. So obviously the sentiment is center back should be our next pressing need to fill. Some targets already have made moves and are off the board. Our #1, Josko Guardiola, joining the enemy over at Man City. But beyond him, and obviously Levi Colwell off the board as well. Brandon, who would be your? I'll ask for top 2 or top 3 next targets that Liverpool should look to sign for that center back position.
Let's see. I mean, Ignacio is probably the easiest shout. I mean, he got the I think it's 40 million release clause.
Yeah, 40 million euros.
Yeah. So I mean, that would be like the #1. I mean, Colwell would have been the dream. He really would have been the dream, but that's just not realistic. I think I said that last time I was on this one of these shows. I think I don't think Chelsea was ever going to give him to us. But he'd be the dream. But
Definitely not now.
yeah, not now. I don't think it's gonna happen now. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of overwhelmed right now still. Like this whole thing, and I'm a little fried. I think Ignacio is number one. I'm trying to think if I can think of anybody else. Sorry, guys.
All right. Daniel with some good shouts there. Antonio Silva, 6'1", right-footed center back from Benfica. Giorgio Scalvini from Atalanta, 6'3", and I believe he is left-footed. Correct me if I'm wrong. Those on the chat. Also, Nico Schlotterbeck, who just joined last year, Borussia Dortmund, but definite talent as well, German center back, and the aforementioned Gonzalo Inacio. Another one not listed there, Lukeba, who's reportedly on his way from Lyon over to RB Leipzig. And there was another one the other day that popped up that the name is escaping me, but Moby, I'm not sure if you guys follow him on Twitter. Moby, he's always good at throwing out scouting shots. But another left-footed center back out there. I'll look for the name. But all right. So Gonzalo Inacio, the one that jumps out to you from those that I just mentioned, and Daniel was nice enough to supply us. Drew, what would be your top target or top 2 or 3 that you'd want to bring in?
I think Ignacio is the clear one. That makes sense. I was also kind of thrown from, was it Anderson from Crystal Palace? Because I'm curious who would want to play kind of back up to Konate Van Dijk, because I don't think we're bringing in someone who'd be ready to go replacing them. Be someone who's willing to fight for the position and maybe play a bit more of a cover role. So, to be honest, I was more focused on midfield, so I don't have all my ducks in a row for center back and who my targets were. I know earlier I thought that like Bastoni from Inter Milan would be the ideal man to come in. I think JK put me on him a few months ago, where I started paying more attention to that. But I'd be curious. I'm really upset we didn't get Timber, and Arsenal did, because I thought he'd be the perfect one to bring in. But yeah, I'd say Inacio makes the most sense at the moment, but also the English, the homegrown quota is another worry here. So I'm curious if that makes like an Anderson more reasonable. But Dan, see your hand waving.
I would say like I'm not really upset about Jurriën Timber. Like I know people are upset because like he does fit that right center back, right back role. I think he'll be fine for Arsenal, but I'm not as high on him as everybody else. Like if you're gonna spend that much money, you might as well get a Gonzalo Ignacio, who is a definite like left center back as well. I think the one, so in my mind, if you're getting a left center back, the top 2 should be Levi Colwell, who was their top target, who they did not get. The second one is Nico Schlotterbeck. Schlotterbeck is the one you want. He's 23, 6'3", wins his duels. He's left-footed. He can play at left back. He is dynamic. He's not slow. He's not as fast as Konate, but he's not slow by any stretch of imagination. That would be the one I think that they probably is their top target, but I don't think Dortmund's going to sell him this year. So what I imagine will probably happen is, unless they get someone like a Pierce Scherzer or Gonzalo Ignacio, which they really rate, but as far as I've seen, they don't. And I know Daniel, great name, mentioned Antonio Silva. I don't think Antonio Silva is moving from Benfica because he's their captain now. I believe he's like one of their captains in leadership.
And he has a high release clause as well, right?
He has a very high release clause.
I don't think he'd be cheap to acquire either.
And he's right-footed too, so he's not a left. He would not be a left-sided center back as well. Like I think he's a great player. I just don't think that he should be the one we're looking at. If right now you put my feet to the fire and say, what center back would we get that is going to like help us evolve, it'd be Nico Schlotterbeck would be the one. And I don't think you would get him until next year at the earliest.
All right, let's see any other suggestions on the chat. Once again, we're up to over 500 viewers now. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Definitely helps us out on the channel. Puts wind in our sails to keep providing content and logging in and just getting excited about all things Liverpool. All right, let's take a look at the chat here. Plenty of love from Brighton's side, and wishing us well when Moises. They definitely appreciated him over there and wishing him well and asking us to take care of him. And you got to give all the respect in the world to Brighton. They're such a well managed club from top to bottom, and such great planning on their part. They bring in players prior to offloading their star one, so they just keep turning that machine. And with that 110 million pound addition to their coffers, it's definitely going to be interesting to see who they sign moving forward. I'm sure it's going to be a lot of talent. But wow, thank you, Brighton fans, and Adam Alana, James Milner. Thanks for putting in a good word. I'm sure Moises Caicedo on the greatness that awaits him at Anfield if he is joining us. Just awesome. All right, Daniel on there. Yes, by all means, detailed report would be great. I'm at QFG on Twitter. Hit me up there and hit up LFC Transfer Room. We're always looking for talent. So if that's kind of your talent, by all means, message the admin on LFC Transfer Room. All right, let's see the chat here. What other topics of conversation should we touch on? I know Moises is the biggest one. Just wow. For Sunday, looking ahead again, we have only 2 days between now and our first match of the season, and against Chelsea. Holy cow! This is storybook. Any chance that Moises is added to the match day squad? Drew, any chance?
Actually, I don't know. I remember James saying that the Premier League registration might prevent him from being in the squad, but I'm not sure how quickly we can get that done and what the exact rules are. But yeah, I think at best you could see him on the bench. He's definitely not getting a start. I'd be completely gobsmacked if he was in the starting lineup. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Chelsea reacts to this too. Especially if he's on the bench, is it going to fire them up, or are they just going to be like gut punched? And Liverpool just too much energy, too much passion blowing through. I can only imagine the away support at Stamford Bridge and how Liverpool fans are going to back the squad now. It's going to be insane. I think Chelsea dropped the ball hard on this one right before the opening day of the season. I guess their scattergun approach and then that Lavia bid might have pushed things just the wrong way for them. But yeah, Caicedo on the bench would be real exciting if that's possible. I don't think that will happen though.
Yeah, I was about to say that, Rigo, that just popped up too. To get all the documents done. So it seemed. So what you mentioned, Drew, I think if they get the registry done by Friday, they could register him in the matchday squad. I don't think even if they get it done that they will. I don't think he'll be on the bench. He'll probably just travel with them or be like a guest. But I don't think they would put him on the bench or even start him.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would just love it if he was on the bench. At least run him out there for 10 minutes, come in and 2-foot tackle Enzo or whoever else is on the Chelsea side.
No, don't do that.
Just throw your.
You're asking for trouble. You're asking for trouble.
Say we're here.
Don't need a Nunez red card, Drigo.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're asking for trouble. That's like buying a Ferrari. That's like buying a Ferrari, waiting for it to come. The minute you get it, you gun on the interstate and get in a car wreck. You're just asking for trouble. No, that'd be especially against the team that he was gonna go to probably. Like, no, it's a very bad idea. It'd be funny. I would love it, but no.
I'm afraid more that they Jordan Pickford him and just absolutely wreck our year.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. No, I don't want that to happen, especially when you just spent 110 million. Like, someone's losing their job to fund that transfer.
Oh man, wow. But again, that just absolutely amazing. All right, let's see other feedback here on the stream. Let's take a look here. By all means, throw in your thoughts or topics that you want us to touch on. We're close to 45 minutes now. We'll probably give it to an hour here on the stream. So by all means, throw in your thoughts on here, and we'll be sure to touch on them as
just
best
a quick note, Riga. I saw that Fabrizio saying on Instagram that Chelsea still have a chance to come back with a new bid, and that's why he hasn't been one of the ones that's been like, here we go, waiting in the wings. But Hopefully we don't eat our socks come tomorrow morning. I know it's late for me, so I'll be waking up tomorrow with the full official confirmation. But fingers crossed this is all good. But I will address. I think I saw that in the comments. A few people saying this isn't a completely signed done deal yet, but it definitely looks that way from most of the reports that are coming out.
Wow, just awesome. So hopefully, yeah, that's it's a done deal, and it's just crossing T's, dotting I's, and making sure that he doesn't have any arrhythmia on his physical tomorrow or any other surprises. Another great shout here on the chat. Independiente del Valle, his home club from Ecuador, gets a 20% cut out of that transfer fee. That's just absolutely huge, especially for a club of that stature. So it should allow them to do hopefully a lot of good there and doesn't get siphoned away somehow. But there's some turmoil going now in Ecuador. A presidential candidate did get assassinated yesterday, but I'll leave the political talk for another day. But just amazing. All right. Let's see here. What else? And as I'm looking, guys, just whatever pops into your mind, by all means, talk. Dan, I know you're never short on words, so hit it.
Well, I mean, we can talk about Ecuadorian politics. I'm all for talking about South American politics. As an American, I can tell you so much about it, even though Ecuador is a little bit new to me as well. I saw somewhere, do we think that Liverpool will sign a center back? The problem is the fact that we haven't strongly been linked with anybody apart from Colwell. So I think it's very unlikely that we sign a center back in this transfer window. I don't think we're going to sign one until next summer because I think they're going to roll with Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa's been training with the first team. He's pretty much been made part of the first team squad. I think he's going to be part of the youth players that be promoted to the full team, like Ben Doak, potentially Bobby Clark, and now Gerald Kwanzaa. I think that they'll probably give them those minutes. Now, obviously, that's a risk. I don't want to get transfer turn this into a assessment of Liverpool's transfer policy the past few years. It is a risk. But I think if you can pick Kwanzaa's games and he gets 5 to 10 games during this window, I think they'll be absolutely fine. I think that we can pretty much win every game and challenge the title without signing a center back because we're just going to have so much amazing cover from just having Moises Caicedo there. He's going to make Gerald Kwanzaa look like Paolo Maldini.
Oh man, I'm just over the moon here. All right, some debate on here. All right, so Arsenal, the Gooners, paid over 100 for Declan Rice. We're paying 110 for Declan Rice. Who's the better player?
Caicedo.
Mm-hmm. Caicedo.
True.
Caicedo, I think Dan, he mentioned it early on this stream, but I thought when I picked Rice I picked him for my flop of the season on the basis that his inflated price tag just really won't merit the performances that he's going to put in for Arsenal. That's why I went with it. But Dan had a really good kind of analogy on why he thought that Rice was not the ideal signing for Arsenal, whereas Caicedo didn't. So if he wants to just repeat that again for the people who joined the stream, I thought that brilliantly summed up my thought.
Yeah, so what I said was that my argument for Declan Rice is not that he's not a good player, not that he's an amazing player, not that I would have him, not that, obviously Man City rate him, is that Rice comes in, he does not make Arsenal a better team. He maybe raises their floor, but he does not make them title challengers. He is a better version of Granit Xhaka. He's going to come in, he's going to do good for Arsenal, but he's not coming in and dominate that midfield. He's probably going to play with Thomas Partey. And if you think about that Arsenal midfield, if you're playing Havertz, Rice, and Odegaard, that's a lot of 10s with not a lot of pressing. Like Declan Rice is a great player, but people are confused about how he plays a 6. He does not play a 6 in a way that we would think of destroying a controller. He's very much a progressive passer. He picks up the ball and he moves forward. Now he can press, he can tackle, he is good at that, but he's not going to have this transformative effect. What Caicedo does is that he comes into Liverpool and you automatically makes us better because he is the platform, or as Pep said, the lighthouse that we use to build our play around. And Declan Rice is not going to be that. Declan Rice was a center back who became a defensive mid who wants to be a 10. And I'm not trying to slaughter Declan Rice. I think he's a great player. Arsenal fans, you're getting a good player. He's going to be great for you, but he is not going to transform your team the way Caicedo is going to transform us. Now, I could be wrong. That is possible, but I don't think he's going to transform them. And plus, he has like 100 more games, or like he has like 150 more games than Caicedo does. So Declan Rice has way more miles in his legs. He's probably going to break down in about 2 to 3 years because of how many games he's been playing since he was like 17 years old.
All right, let's have a little bit of debate here. Best Premier League midfield. Man City with Kovacic, Rodri, and KDB. Arsenal with Odegaard, Partey, and Rice. Liverpool with Caicedo, McAllister, and Dominic. And who would it be fourth? Man U?
Tottenham.
But Betancourt.
So rate those midfields. Man City, Arsenal, or Liverpool, I guess, for top three. I'll go to you, Brandon. Who would you rate? Which midfield would you rather have?
I won't be a total homer here and just say Liverpool just because. I think also we still need to see, obviously, we have seen Mac and Caicedo play together. That does give it a little bit more like credence to say if you put Liverpool first. I'd still say, you got to beat the champions to call yourself the best at anything. So I'd put Man City at 1 just because. I mean, they are the champions. They're, won the treble last year, all the fun stuff that they did. That was so much fun to watch. Or I'd put us, right there with Arsenal. Like, I don't know. You have to see how Partey and Rice work. I mean, as Dan was saying, there's not a lot of pressing in that midfield. I mean, I feel like that's what Arteta kind of wants, and I don't think that's what he's going to get. So, I'd have to put a second, Arsenal third. I guess if on the spot, yeah, I'd say Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal in terms of midfield strength.
All right. What about you, Drew? How do you rate them?
Similar as Brandon, I think same exact one for me. I think it'll be interesting to see what Man U do with their midfield because it looks like they got rid of Fred and they're getting rid of McTominay.
And Van de Beek. Not Van de Beek.
McFred is on the way out.
McFred and Donny.
So I'm curious if they do anything late in the transfer window because Eriksen can, on his game, be a very good player as well. So I'll be curious who they get in. But yeah, I think Hyler said for me, like Rodri. I think Rodri is one of the best midfielders in the Premier League. Throw in there like KDB and depending who, probably Kovacic. That's just formidable. But like I said early in the stream, Liverpool know how to beat Man City in a race over the course of a season for the Premier League. So it'll be very, very exciting. Arsenal, we'll see how they gel together. Just excited for the season to start. This is going to be epic.
One thing that I forgot to mention, and obviously they finished above us on the table last season, and that would be Newcastle. They also have a pretty decent midfield with Bruno, Sandro Tonali, as well as Joe Linton. A lot of athletes in that midfield as well. So that's one that I forgot. All right, awesome. A lot of great feedback. Again, around 500 people on the chat. Over 100. Let me just refresh the page here. Get excited about this as well. Let me see how many likes. 167. Yeah. All right, nice crooked number, man.
Yeah.
Let's see if we get 200. Let me dream. Let us believe.
The only midfielders that are better than our midfielders are Kevin De Bruyne and Rodri, and that's because they're the two best in the world. And I'm not saying that because I would have Kevin De Bruyne and Rodri over Szoboszlai and Caicedo, but those are the two golden boys because they're just amazing. Bruno Guimaraes, he's the one player I wish we bought. He's the one player we missed out on. I'm so mad because I love him.
Missed out on him. Less than
I know he's the one. I know he's the one. That was the one of all the players we've missed that we haven't bought. I'm not mad about Tchouaméni. I'm not even really mad about Bellingham. It's honestly just it's Guimaraes because Bruno Guimaraes should have been like our player to come in as well. But I'm happy to have
Camavinga to me because he was out there for a free from Rennes, and
that's true.
We should have gotten in his ear way before he had a chance to even talk to Real Madrid. But
that's true. That is true.
Hey, can't cry over spilt milk, right? I just got to worry about the here and now. And wow, the now is not too shabby. All right. Let's see here. All right, looking ahead to Sunday. Obviously, we don't expect Moises to start. It would be pretty incredible if he did. But who would be our midfield three come Sunday? I'll throw that over to you, Drew.
I'm curious to see whether Curtis Jones is back enough or Klopp prefers him. I might just go what we did with the last preseason game and have it just be Mac, Szoboszlai, and Gakpo. Kind of go all out offensive, see how that goes, and see if we can blitz them, because that was one thing I was very excited for us in the preseason was that we started games pretty quickly and we got goals. That's something, especially last season, we were not starting games well. We were going back to that. Conceding first and then having to claw back. So I'm wondering if Klopp, with the we're not sure what Pochettino. We know Pochettino has been in the Premier League, but we're not sure with everything at Chelsea how he's gotten the team to gel. So maybe Klopp just comes right out the gate with a very strong defensive lineup, and then tries to get those early goals, and then kind of take control of the game from there. So I'd be excited to see a very attacking midfield and top, and have it geared towards that.
My wife's hopping in here. She's caring about
the Kool-Aid man. She broke through that wall.
She did. She's a prankster.
For those of you across the pond, you might not be familiar with Kool-Aid, but those of you over here will get it as far as that reference. All right. So, what about you? As far as starting lineup, Brandon, who do you think gets the nod come Sunday? For the midfield, at least.
For the midfield, I would think Mac, Sobo, and I think I'd go Gakpo too. I think I agree with what Drew's kind of saying. I think it'd be one of those almost like momentum games. It's kind of come out, take all the air out of the stadium, to show like what the attack can do, and just get teams already thinking about like, if we can't stop them going forward, then they're bringing in maybe one of the best defensive midfielders in the world to come to this team. It gets other teams thinking. Like I said, there's just so many options. I mean, you can put like Jones back out there. You can tinker so much with this team. It's mouthwatering about the lineup so you can make with this team. Yeah.
What's going through my head now, and obviously he hasn't had enough practice time and just coming off of injury and surgery, is Thiago sitting in a double with Caicedo and letting McAllister and Dom just move further up the pitch. Wow.
So that's my biggest question for Sunday is how fit are Thiago and Bajcetic? How close are they to starting? Because we know they've been doing recovery. We know they're in training. There could be a situation where we actually see it's a Thiago, McAllister, and Szoboszlai midfield as well. I get what Brandon. I get what you're saying about bringing in Gakpo and Drew as well. My one worry with bringing Gakpo in the midfield is that you are leaving yourself light for attackers. I think that what they're going to do, what Klopp's going to do, is it's going to be Diaz, Gakpo, Salah with either Jones, McAllister, Szoboszlai, or it will be Thiago, McAllister, and Szoboszlai. And it's going to look more like a 4-2-3-1 shape than it's going to look like anything else. You're going to have a double pivot with McAllister, Thiago, with Szoboszlai as either the 10 or the right wing. Yeah, as like that triangle, that diamond. Though what will probably happen is that Szoboszlai will go to the right wing, Mo will go up top, Gakpo drop into the 10, Diaz will play left. And I think that's what they're going to do against Chelsea. And whoever plays midfield is a double pivot.
Just like exciting combinations, and again, even if we don't start off with that lineup, just the ability to switch mid-game with the 5 substitutions and having those options off the bench.
Can you imagine Darwin Nunez running in behind Thiago Silva? I respect Thiago Silva, but 37-year-old Thiago Silva, and you have Darwin Nunez, who's just come off his preseason where he's pretty much scored. He's had every shot he's had been on target. Like, the man is like going to be possessed. He's got a new midfield to supply him. Like, Jota's already happy about the midfielders. Like they're just going to be this might have been 8-0. I don't know. Like, they might go and embarrass Chelsea, and Chelsea fans may riot and burn down the stadium, which now they'd have to build a new stadium.
It's just going to be amazing. Someone who in the midfield, or everyone in the midfield, is able to receive a pass, turn, go upfield, or is comfortable taking on defenders and not playing hot potato with it. It's just exciting stuff on the way. Yeah, I'll be surprised as well, Haler, if Caicedo starts. But again, I don't know how I don't know how much the benefit of being Macca's teammate these past couple of seasons will play into that. But yeah, I don't see him getting thrown into the fray that soon. Uh, Andre Smith.
Thiago
Dan,
Silva.
Dan is from Boston. He has a bit of an accent.
I'm from North Carolina. I'm from the American South, living in the Northeast. I teach Portuguese Brazilian students, so sometimes my accent just doesn't know what to do. I could do the actual Brazilian.
Silver.
Yeah, Thiago Silva, like silver, not Silva. Thiago Silva.
Again, what makes us the best club in the world is we have folks from all around it. Obviously, this is more of American-centric stream today just because of the hour that it is. But we're all over the world, and it's absolutely a wonderful community. Just wow, just amazing. That the first time YNWA gets sung this year, it's going to be just insane. I can't wait for our fans to be chanting that on Sunday at Stamford Bridge, up with a 3-0 lead.
So what what song should we do for Moises Caicedo? What's a good song we can put his name to? We should start coming up with that now.
Fire up that Chat GPT, folks. Oh man, that's a good suggestion there. That'd be a good poll, either poll or have folks just do submissions as far as a song for Moises when he comes along. But just awesome. We went from not having a ton of Spanish speakers and that kind of be using against Darwin's development last season, perhaps there being a communication barrier, to now we're pretty flush with Spanish speakers up and down the squad. So I think we can kind of remove that detriment, I would say, plus all the learning Darwin did. So I think I'm just excited for that. I just can't wait for him to score 30 plus goals this year. Just awesome. All right, let's hit up the chat again. We'll wrap it up in a couple of minutes. All right. Jay Muse, feel the same way. All right. Okay, final question. I know where I stand on this, but I'll go ahead and round robin it. I'll go to you, Dan, first. Is it Nunez or Gakpo as the main striker for this season?
I think it just depends on what games we're playing. I think Gakpo may start out being the striker, but we could see him over time being transformed into more of a midfielder and kind of more ending up in the midfield rotation certain games, and Darwin will take over as well. I think that the long-term plan right now is that whenever Darwin plays, he's either playing with Diaz on the left, so he's the lone striker, or he's going to play with Jota, where they play as a 2, and Mo Salah becomes a right winger as well. So I think they're good. I think it's going to start out as Gakpo and then turn into Nunez by December. By the time we get to December games, and I was especially during Europa League games, I think Nunez will start, if not all, most of the Europa League games. He might score like 30 goals in the group stages at this point.
Where do you stand on this, Drew? Who should be our main striker for this campaign?
I know where you stand, Rigo, but unfortunately, I believe you are wrong. And Gakpo has to be the starting striker. I love Nunez. I love his passion. I still think he's too raw and needs to find his confidence. And unfortunately, that's only going to come if he gets a run of games. So I hope, like Dan said, he gets a lot of Europa League time and develops it. Because I think what Nunez really needs is to get that kick out the butt and see that, like, Gakpo and Jota are not going to let him start above them, like, without a fight. I think that's what Darwin really needs, is to really tap into that self-belief, the confidence, and give it his all. Because for me, it still hasn't quite, like, all clicked for him. Like that goal that he scored, his first goal of the preseason, when he was one-on-one, he passed it to Salah, and then Salah had to salvage it back to him, and he finished it. Like, he's just got to find that natural comfort zone, like, where he's not even thinking, where he completely trusts himself going in. I don't think he's hit that at this point, but hopefully the form of Gakpo and Jota will just bring out the best of Nunez, because if everything clicks, he could be one of the best strikers of the generation. But Gakpo for now.
Gakpo for now. All right, 2 Gakpos. All right, Brandon, where do you stand or sit, since we're all sitting down right now on this issue?
I think Gakpo. I think I agree with them. Like Gakpo for now, but it's definitely going to be Nunez's job. Like I think Dan said, December. I think by December you could probably see Nunez up top. He's just his natural finishing ability. Like when he doesn't have time to think, like is ferocious. Like I think there was that header against last year. I can't remember which header. Well, I can't remember what game, but it was just no reason that ball goes in. I think it was Newcastle. If I'm thinking.
Oh yeah, on the bounce, yeah.
There's no reason he gets that header on target, and he does. Like he just anytime he has like a first time shot, it always seems like it's better than if he has like a couple touches to everything. I think the talent there is just so obvious that I think it's just a matter of a couple months before it's really unlocked with what's now behind him and feeding him. I think the better question is how many of our players scored 20 plus goals this year, because you could really see 4 or 5 at least.
I think it'll be Salah and Nunez get 20 plus. I think Jota gets 15. I think Gakpo gets 12 to 15. I think Diaz gets 12 to 15.
In all competitions?
No, league goals.
No, I was talking all competitions.
Oh, all competitions. Oh, God. I think all 5 are scoring in all competitions. They're going to score 110 goals.
Yeah.
All right. All of you seem to think you know where I stand on this issue, and you're 100% correct. Darwin Nunez needs to be our number one striker, being the tip of the spear of this squad. He just opens up so much space for those behind him that those 2 center backs guarding him have to pay attention if he's going to slip through. Power, speed, and again, the directness will allow our other players who are much more talented with the ball at their feet. Lucho Diaz, Mo Salah, even Jota obviously has more techers than Darwin, but he can just focus on banging in those goals or laying off balls when the attention's on him, as he's tried to do to Mo and others for the assist. The other thing that kind of works into my line of thinking there is Cody's just an amazing footballer, and we can't pigeonhole him as a striker. He's not just a striker, and I think his versatility and his ability will benefit us more, being able to use in multiple positions and being able to interchange him where needed. Obviously, that doesn't preclude him from starting the match and then shifting backwards or to left or right as the match progresses. But at the same time, it might factor into the thinking of Klopp, hey, I have this kind of offensive Swiss Army knife that I could kind of play in multiple spots, even now in midfield, and just give teams different looks. So, and the investment we made in Darwin, it's not to have a guy come off the bench for the last 30 minutes or 20 minutes. Now it's up to him to live up to that as well. I think he's well on his way to living up to that, the hard work he's put in, getting better with English, the rapport he's built with the squad, and the energy he brings. To me, he has to be in the starting lineup, and not to mention he's probably my 5-year-old son's favorite player. So he's got to be in there.
Yeah, I mean, to your credit, Rigo, I think we're going to see a lot of Nunez and Gakpo at home games against like a Villa, a Bournemouth, or a team that's going to try and be defensive because, like you said, Gakpo is such a great footballer. I think they're going to use Gakpo as either a false 9/pressing forward or as a midfielder in their setup this year, and that's how I think we're going to see Nunez really flourish, is like at away games or at home games against the bottom 10.
Nunez as a player off the bench, though, 60 minutes, defender's legs tired, is a hell of a substitution, though, Rigo. Like, his pace and frightening in those last, 15, 20 minutes of the games could absolutely tear up defense and cause so much chaos. So that's another reason. But I know what you're saying. Like, he won't want that to be his role, but hopefully that gives him the kick up the butt to where he's scoring goals left and right off the bench, where he's like, I deserve my spot.
That could also factor in, for example, towards the end of the game, we're leading. We don't necessarily need a guy to come in and score goals or make runs. We need possession. We need to be able to see out these matches. And that's where perhaps, again, Cody's ability on the ball and being able to break a press might factor into that. Who knows unsure how it shakes out, but we are in way better position than we were last season. Last season, we lost Lucho. We lost Jota for extended stretches. for a long time, again, we had to play Darwin Nunez at left wing just because we didn't have any other options. Mo Salah, the one, rock that we could stand on as far as an attacking squad there the entire season. Accused of having a dip, but at the end of the year, still second most creative player in the league as far as combined goals and assists. Like, I'm actually quite excited to see this incarnation of Mohamed Salah because I feel like his playmaking and his passing has improved, and his eye for setting up teammates has improved dramatically, or he's just more open to showing that part of his game now. So I think he might get 20 assists in my opinion this year.
I think he's going to break Thierry Henry's 20 goals, 20 assists. I think he's going to get 26 goals and like 21 assists this year. I could see that very easily happening with this team, especially now with Caicedo, where Salah doesn't even have to defend anymore. He can just stay up top and just do whatever he wants. He can be a creative right winger.
With Dom right there, dude. Right there as well on the right side. If he plays right center mid next to Mo, his pressing and his recovery, he's shown in the preseason is outstanding. So, wow, just health. We just need health. That's all we basically need from our front line there.
Inshallah, health, inshallah.
Wow, we have a lot of fellow Ecuadorians in the comments there. Ahí los veo. Se le agradece mucho que están aquí en el chat. Vamos Ecuador. I'm just ecstatic, guys. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna. I'm half Spaniard. I'm half Ecuadorian. We have Thiago. We have Pistechich. We have Adrian on the Spanish side. Now we have Moises Caicedo coming in. My wife is Colombian. I was just in Colombia this summer. I love the country. It's absolutely gorgeous. We have Lucho Diaz. So I'm representing almost 360. I'm sorry. I'm just super, super over the moon right now with this news. All right. Thanks for joining in that celebration with me, guys, here on the panel. But let's see what else. We're at 111 minutes. I think we'll probably wrap it up on that. 378 people currently. We hit a high of around 500 on a impromptu live stream. Just absolutely amazing. Thank you, everyone who joined in. Once again, leave a like. As well as subscribe for all the breaking news. We'll be sure to fire up any ad hoc streams as they come up between now and the end of the transfer window. Up to 218 likes. Just amazing, guys. Absolutely amazing. Tomorrow, another excellent day awaits us, hopefully, with Caicedo's medical and confirmation, hopefully, with a tweet or an announcement from Liverpool Football Club. For myself, Rigo, as well as Dan, Drew, and Brandon, YNWA from those of us here at LFC Transfer Room. Have a great night, and Moises Caicedo is ours. Suck it, Chelsea.